Imagine spending billions of dollars building the most advanced electric vehicle empire on the planet, only to wake up one morning and realize the very heart of your technology has just been rendered completely obsolete. For the past 5 years, the entire global automotive industry has been locked in a brutal, highly publicized war over battery capacity, software updates, and autonomous driving. Tesla and BYD dominated the headlines, convincing the world that the future of transportation belonged exclusively to tech companies. But quietly, behind heavily restricted laboratory doors in Germany, Mercedes-Benz was executing a massive, top-secret operation that completely ignored the software wars. They weren't trying to build a better iPad on wheels. They were re-engineering the actual laws of physics. Mercedes has just unveiled the YSA Flux motor, a mechanical weapon so unbelievably efficient, so incredibly compact, and so devastatingly powerful that it is currently forcing Elon Musk and Chinese executives to completely rewrite their entire engineering blueprints. The era of the heavy, inefficient electric car is officially dead, and the old guard just took back the throne. To understand exactly how Mercedes pulled off this absolute engineering heist, you have to go back to a highly secretive corporate maneuver executed in 2021. While the rest of the world was obsessed with battery gigafactories, Mercedes quietly acquired a British startup named YASA. At the time, the media largely ignored the purchase, writing it off as a minor experimental investment. But inside Mercedes, this acquisition triggered a massive, highly classified black site operation. YSA specialized in axial flux technology, a motor concept that most of the industry believed was too volatile and complex for mass production. Mercedes completely isolated hundreds of their absolute best engineers, handed them an unlimited research budget, and issued one strict, non-negotiable directive: keep everything completely silent until the technology is perfect. For 3 years, there were absolutely zero press releases, zero social media leaks, and zero warnings. They relentlessly tested magnetic materials and optimized rotor geometry until they finally achieved the impossible. When the internal testing metrics were finally unsealed in early 2024, the numbers were so staggering that competing executives genuinely thought it was a misprint. To understand the sheer magnitude of this breakthrough, you have to look at the massive flaw currently plaguing traditional electric vehicles. The motors powering your standard Tesla or BYD operate on a radial flux principle, meaning the magnetic field moves perpendicular to the rotation axis. This creates an incredibly heavy, bulky motor that generates a massive amount of wasted heat, requiring complex, heavy liquid cooling systems just to survive. The YSA motor completely shatters that architecture. By forcing the magnetic field to move parallel to the axis, Mercedes essentially eliminated the wasted heat and drastically shortened the magnetic path. The result is an electric motor that weighs a shockingly light 30 kilograms, up to 70% lighter than a standard EV motor. It operates at an absolutely terrifying 97% efficiency, translating almost every single drop of battery power directly into violent, instantaneous torque. The absolute second these specifications were verified, an immediate, undeniable wave of panic ripped through the headquarters of Tesla and BYD. Tesla built its entire multi-billion-dollar valuation on possessing the most efficient electric drivetrains on the market. But the arrival of the YSA Flux motor instantly made Tesla's heavy, heat-producing architecture look like outdated, first-generation technology. If Tesla cannot rapidly reverse-engineer this specific axial flux technology, or desperately negotiate a licensing agreement with Mercedes, their competitive performance advantage will completely evaporate. The threat is equally devastating for BYD. The Chinese giant dominates the globe through aggressive, low-cost mass production. But because the YSA motor is so remarkably simple and requires far less cooling infrastructure, it is actually cheaper to mass-produce once scaled. If Mercedes successfully drops this hyper-efficient motor into their entry-level vehicles, BYD will suddenly find themselves completely outmatched in both performance and manufacturing costs. But the absolute most terrifying aspect of the YSA Flux motor isn't just its current performance. It is what this microscopic size allows Mercedes to do next. Because this motor is incredibly thin and weighs almost nothing, automotive engineers are no longer forced to design a car around a massive, centralized block of metal. Mercedes is actively developing a second-generation architecture that completely eliminates the traditional transmission, the drive shafts, and the axles entirely. They are preparing to mount these ultra-powerful YASA motors directly inside the wheels of the vehicle. If you place an independent, highly efficient motor inside all four wheels, you completely eradicate mechanical power loss. The vehicle becomes drastically lighter, the interior cabin space expands massively, and the car achieves a level of instantaneous, independent torque vectoring that makes it handle like a multi-million-dollar hypercar. It is a fundamental reinvention of how a vehicle actually physically moves. This mechanical revolution also triggers a massive, highly strategic geopolitical shockwave that the industry is desperately trying to ignore. For the last decade, the entire electric vehicle transition has been held completely hostage by a deeply vulnerable, highly centralized global supply chain. Traditional radial motors require massive amounts of heavy rare earth metals, specifically neodymium magnets and cobalt, resources that are overwhelmingly controlled and refined by China. This gave one specific government an absolute stranglehold over the pricing and production of the entire Western auto industry. The YASA flux architecture is an absolute masterstroke because its optimized magnetic path requires drastically fewer rare earth materials to operate. Mercedes isn't just building a faster car. They are actively engineering a permanent escape route from the Chinese supply chain monopoly, securing their own independence and drastically lowering the carbon footprint of their manufacturing process. For years, Silicon Valley tech companies mocked the traditional European automotive giants, claiming they were dinosaurs completely incapable of surviving the digital transition. Companies like Rivian, Lucid, and Tesla poured billions into giant touchscreens, artificial intelligence, and controversial self-driving software, assuming the mechanical engineering of the car was a solved problem. Mercedes just proved that placing all of your bets on software while ignoring the fundamental hardware is a massive, multi-billion-dollar mistake. They went back to their absolute deepest roots, proving that true, unassailable automotive dominance still belongs to the companies that can physically bend the laws of thermodynamics to their will. The electric revolution does not have to be loud, and it doesn't require a constant stream of social media hype. Mercedes operated in absolute silence, and when they finally struck, they completely rearranged the strategic chessboard of the entire global industry. I want to hear your absolute raw, unfiltered thoughts down in the comments below. Do you believe Tesla's software advantage can survive against Mercedes' undeniable mechanical supremacy? Or is the era of the Silicon Valley car officially coming to an end? Smash that subscribe button so you never miss an exclusive operational breakdown. Drop a like on the video, and I will see you all in the very next deep dive.